All right, everyone. Welcome to Heal Thyself. Another beautiful show we have lined up for you. Thank you for coming in, taking the time out of your week, and spending time with Dr. G, because this is going to be really, really good stuff for you today. First and foremost, I think it's really important to understand that the environment that we live in can affect our health. I speak about environmental medicine, but today I'm going to give you some tips on how to optimize your bedroom and reduce that toxic load. You're in your bedroom all the time, right? You're sleeping there. So how do we optimize it so we are healthier, our kids are healthier, our pets are healthier? So really, really important knowledge bomb coming up. Then we have our special guest, Dr. Habib Sadeghi. He's a very well-known and renowned doctor out here in Los Angeles and around the world. An incredible, incredible mind-body specialist. He's a family doctor, but he really, really ask the right questions on how to get you thinking about what disease means. And as I always say, it starts with the mind, it starts with the body, and it starts from disconnection from nature and your spirit. So beautiful, beautiful stuff coming. I can't wait. So let's jump right in. Knowledge bomb. All right, the knowledge bomb is going to be on how to detox your bedroom. Okay, I was inspired by a former guest, Zach Bush. On his stories the other day, he had some tips on some of the things in your bedroom that would be emitting certain chemicals and compounds that could be making you sick. And it's really important because think about it. We spend about 8 hours, right? Let's say you sleep 8 hours at night, every night on average. You'll sleep about 222,961 hours in your lifetime. That's about a third of your life. A third of your life being in a room. Wouldn't it stand to believe that we really, really should be optimizing that room? The air that we're breathing, right? The contact that we're making. We really, really, really want to have a nice, purified, clean room. According to the EPA, however, check this out. Indoor air pollution is often 2 to 5 times higher than that of outdoor air pollution, right? So we always think outdoor air is really the stuff that is making us sick. We think of pollution, we think of like smog and the highways, but we don't really think about indoor air pollution, but 2 to 5 times more. And at times, it can exceed 100 times more indoors, which is incredible. So for us, it's like we really need to focus on that indoor air quality. Why? Well, it's not only cleaning supplies or air fresheners or fragrances we use, but there's materials in our house that can off-gas. And you heard me talk about it before. This concept of the materials becoming volatile when they break down. These are what are called volatile organic compounds. For example, benzene, toluene, formaldehyde, and other chemicals are known to cause these issues, right? You have respiratory irritation. Yeah, we know that. But they're also known carcinogens. Carcinogens meaning they lead to cancer. And even when the smell is gone, doesn't mean the chemicals are gone, right? For many of these materials, it's hanging out through the life of the material. As it breaks down, it breaks down, it breaks down. It's still releasing these chemicals. But think about it. You buy a new couch, you buy a new rug, you buy a mattress topper, and you open it up and you smell these chemicals, like, right. Think about like the new car smell. Some people like it, but it's chemicals. It's pure chemicals. So the same thing happens at home. And these chemicals have a profound effect on your body. So why not take into account a few things in your bedroom that you can work towards removing over time? Or if you can, get them out of there. All right. So here are my top tips to detox your bedroom. Start with your window. That's the cheapest way. Open it up every single day and get some airflow going. Right. This is like the cheapest way that I'm talking about, but that airflow is really, really important, right? Because remember what I said, indoor pollution, outdoor pollution. You have all of these indoor volatile compounds that now you're able to push outside, right? Not all of them, but you're still going to have that airflow, and it's really, really important. So even in the winter, try to open up your windows a little bit and get the fan going, get the air moving through your room. If you have a bathroom connected to your room, this is going to be really important. Open that window too, if you have one. If you're looking for a new place, try to look for a place that has a bathroom window. Because when you shower and the room gets foggy, the room gets moist, over time, then you're at risk for that overgrowth of mold. And you know my story with mold, I'm sure, and I did a whole show on mold because of this, but it's very important to be aware that moisture that you keep in the bathroom can continue to build up over and over and over. And if there's water damage, right, like a flooded toilet or a flooded shower or a broken pipe somewhere, then you got to make sure you remediate immediately, right? And this is what I spoke about in the mold show. So if you're predisposing your bathroom to mold growth, that's connected to your room, then you're absolutely going to have mold spores flowing around in your room. All right, what about your mattress? This is, in my opinion, the number one most toxic thing in a bedroom. And ironically, this most toxic thing in the bedroom is the thing we lay on for hours upon hours upon hours. So you go back to episode number 45, and I talked about this in detail. Plus, I talked about my favorite brands of mattresses to use. But long story short, conventional mattresses utilize flame retardant chemicals. Polyvinyl chloride, PVCs, the things that you're finding in your shower curtain, polyurethane, right? Pesticides, chemical adhesives, other volatile organic compounds, which are making us sick. They're known to disrupt hormones, disrupt normal respiratory function, disrupt the nervous system, development, right, when you're pregnant or you have a young child, and are carcinogenic, as I mentioned, causing cancer. And Tempur-Pedics are the worst. They're the most chemicals of the chemicals. They have so much polyurethane in there, and they're off-gassing and off-gassing and off-gassing. But nowadays, we have beds that are much more benign. Their materials are much more safe. We have cotton fiber beds, wool beds, latex beds, organic cotton beds, some with a mix of all of them. But you really want to look for GOTS or GOLS. GOTS for the cotton and GOLS for the latex, respectively. So what we're going to see is that this is sort of the standard to know that you're getting a good quality bed with quality materials. You also can look for Green Guard Gold or OEKO, Ecotex, standard 100 label. I went over all the mattresses that all have this, or some of them have some of them have all of them. So I ranked them, and take a look back on episode 45 to find out which mattress you want. There's been, I'm sure, some that have came out since that may even be better. So this calls for another review, right? But look for that if you're investigating for a new bed. But the same goes with pillows too. The exposure is there. You're putting your head on a pillow all night, especially if you have a Tempur-Pedic. That's one of the worst of the worst. And you're laying on it, right? So now you're on a bed with a pillow, and the same goes with beddings. You want to look for really GOT certified cotton, organic cotton sheets. You can really optimize a lot and put yourself in a much better place as far as toxic load if you start with your bed. I would actually recommend that's one of the first things that you intervene with. What else? Rugs. Rugs. A lot of people have area rugs. A lot of people have wall-to-wall carpeting. But we really need to be very vigilant about the rugs that we have and paying close attention to what's in it, right? We don't really think much about it. Shit, I grew up with a bunch of rugs. We didn't think about it. But now it's something to keep our minds on because children, pets, they're rolling around on it, playing, sleeping, whatever it is. But rugs in particular are made mostly and sometimes exclusively of synthetic materials. You have these rug fibers, but you also have the padding. And worse yet, a lot of them are doused in stain and water protectant chemicals. So for one, you never really want to wear shoes from outside indoors where there's a rug. And also you just really, even if there's no rug, make sure you're not bringing your house from indoors. But make sure you're continuously cleaning that rug because it's going to collect dust and allergens and chemicals. But really what you want to do is get a rug when you can with natural fibers. And these natural fibers can be latex or wool or cotton. The one that I have, the one that I bought for my apartment, was the Hook and Loom one, but there are other brands out there. The rug should be low volatile organic compounds or no volatile organic compounds in the adhesives, right? So again, summary, non-synthetic material like wool or cotton, and no volatile organic compounds went on the brand description. There's not that many rug companies out there. I had a little bit of trouble finding, but you can do some really good research now that you have some tips. What else? Hardwood furniture. Now, this is a topic I've yet to cover because, to be honest, there's not that many quote-unquote clean furniture companies out there. There are some, but really like beds, for example, have blown up over the past few years because a lot of people are making these organic mattresses. But hardwood furniture is a little more difficult, but why is hardwood furniture a problem? Well, the plywood, the particle boards are glued together with formaldehyde-based adhesives. And this is a problem because it's a definitive carcinogen, right? We know it in high doses it is, but what about everyday exposure? over 8 hours of sleep when it's in the air? And what about exposure to that and other chemicals and how they're working synergistically? And Zach Bush had mentioned in his story series to look for companies that, again, have low or no VOC furniture. And there are actually a few companies. I Googled it. You can go to Google and type in low VOC furniture. That's what I typed. And then I typed no VOC furniture. And then I typed formaldehyde-free furniture. I know for sure IKEA doesn't use formaldehyde in their furniture, but there are other companies that did pop up. So really easy stuff. So say you need a new dresser or side table in your room. Now make sure that when you are put in a little extra money and buy one that is not using these chemicals. It's interesting that the ones that are a little more expensive are the cleaner ones. All right, and the last part, look, get some NASA-studied plants, right? There was a NASA study that looked at house plants that detoxified some of these volatile organic chemicals from the air, which is really cool. So very cheap option. You can line up your bedroom with some of them. I have a few. And also check out episode 12 because I spoke about air purifiers. And I would actually highly recommend you have an air purifier in your room. And if you have a newborn, putting it in the nursery, or just young children, putting it in their room. Wherever you're spending the most amount of time, make sure you have an air purifier there because no house is 100% clean. In my show, I did mention the Molecule, the Air Doctor, and the IQ Air. I have the first two in my place. But check it out. Go back to episode 12 and learn about the importance of an air purifier. I know a lot of you have it. So there you go. Really quick, easy ways how to detox your home, what to look out for, and how to do better. And we all can. And it's okay if we got a lot of work to do because you might not have known, but now you do. You have the power, you have the knowledge, and now you can spread it. All right, everyone. Very special guest today, Dr. Habib Sadeghi, is a friend of mine that I met earlier before the COVID pandemic. And I wanted to get him out here, but then, one thing led to another with the state of the world. But what an honor to have him sit here because they call him the old soul doc, right? The old soul doc. And I want to know what that even means. But I truly feel the old soul coming out. I just want to know why they're calling you the old soul doc. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. It's, I went on a hike with a friend of mine, and in the process of just talking, this came out, and it really spoke to me, and I kept it.
The old soul doc.
The old soul doctor, and it just reminds me of, why naturopathy exists, why you're a naturopath, right? Because naturopathy, for me, and naturopathic medicine is about the wisdom that we all have. So I wish I could tell you that I'm the only old soul doctor. No, I think there's an old soul doctor in all of us, right?
Absolutely.
And in a way, so this is a reminder for me, thinking that just like me, the person that sits across from me, and your audience, all of us, there's an old soul that has all the resources to guide us, which is really the pillar of naturopathy and naturopathic medicine, right?
The innate healing, right?
The innate healing, right? I mean, which is really what you practice, heal thyself. And I can't tell you, I mean, if there is one trigger that I have is when others in multiple acronyms after their name, they come out and they tell all of us or the patients what they should be doing. Just think about that, right? The person who is the world-renowned authority on Dr. Gonzalez is you.
No one knows better.
No one. But we live in a world that's lopsided. We live in a world that we're so disconnected from our souls that we look for a double-blinded, placebo-controlled study. We look for someone to come and to tell us how many milligrams of zinc, how many milligrams of glutathione I should be taking, right? And if you ever had Persian food, your medicine is with your food. We got all the herbs in
all
between,
the colors,
right? Between each spoon, you got your herbs that you take them in between, right? But now we've gotten to a place, and I do it because most people don't eat that way. So we create, mother tinctures and essential oils and capsules, and we take it. But this idea of let your food be your medicine and your medicine be your food is as old as Hippocrates, right?
Forever.
And it's and so that's where it came from. It really as a reminder that there is an old soul in all of us.
I love that. And you are expressing that old soul in your everyday. It's came to the surface. But I love that you reminded us that we can all tap into that old soul,
Right.
that wisdom.
Yes.
Now, when you say wisdom, are we just talking about like wisdom about what my body wants to eat and what it doesn't? Or like, is this supplement working? Or are we talking about deeper conscious wisdom that is arising? To you, what is wisdom?
Well, wisdom for me is applied knowledge that can make a difference for you and others around you, right? Wisdom is you coming outside and whatever difficulty we had with the parking, and you say, well, why don't you come in the back, right? And what you provided me, right? You meet me outside and, you flag me down and we come and find the parking, right? So this way, my bandwidth mentally is not preoccupied that, oh man, I got to keep track of when the 1 hour is done. And then I'm going to be rushing through the conversation because I can't completely be here, right? So you having that knowledge that I could apply it to my life that makes a difference, and it actually creates freedom. It creates spaciousness so that now I can live in a world that is free. I'm not oppressed.
Right.
I'm not worried about whether I'm going to get a ticket or not, right? That's wisdom. Knowledge would be, well, gosh, there are a lot of parking spaces on the streets. True, not wisdom.
So that deep inner wisdom provides the theoretical freedom. You're
It
saying.
completely frees you up. If you come up and you say, wow, gosh, you see this right here? This is unbelievable. I want you to have this in your smoothie every day and you're going to live to be 120. Great. You might actually be right. And I might actually live until I'm 120, but that's not freedom. Because wherever I go, I'm going to be at the mercy of your smoothie or your supplements that you want to sell me.
Right.
But you teach me how there are things that I could apply in my own life, right? That creates freedom for me. That's really the essence of heal thyself. It's not to fill up your suitcase with all your supplements and all your powders and do your cleanse and worry about how the world is coming to an end. And no, I don't think the world's coming to an end. I think that just like every birth, that's bloody. Right now we're going through some, bloody stuff. That's great. But it's an opportunity to really evolve. It's an opportunity to tap into that innate, soul, the wisdom that we have to guide us. That's why I'm here, because I have so much respect for you, and you really are making the knowledge that you have, the knowledge that you come across with the people out there, that they can get it, and they can apply that knowledge into their lives and create and distill it into wisdom that works for them.
Absolutely. I always resonated with that quote, teach a man how to fish, right? If you teach a man how to fish, they'll be able to do it without needing you. And even when I was working I in the clinic, I used to say hi and, go through the whole process of intake and seeing them. But I tell them my goal is after our treatment, I never see you again. Because that's the hope, especially the cancer patients. I hope I never see you again. Maybe just check in, but because my goal was to give the tools for these folks so they can go about their way. They can change the way they eat. They could change the way they breathe. They could,
So profound.
And the beautiful thing is that when you put that energy out there as a practitioner, you continue getting more. The patient loads, it just comes. Patients always come. You don't run out of patients.
Yeah, when people... It's so interesting because I get quite a few physicians that they come in and they want to find out, right? And they usually come in not because of books I've written or podcasts. They come in because they had a patient that was dying of cancer and they were sending him to hospice. And it's 2 years later and they see the patient and they're healthy. And they're trying to figure out what happened, right? And so they come in and they're curious. They're like, what did you do? And this idea that there are sub-DNA activators, they've never heard of it. Like when you tell them that, you can actually sit with someone and be certain way with them, that their sub-DNA that might be invisible and deactivated, it gets activated. And whatever it is, the symptoms that they have, it gets resolved. That's so profound.
Yeah.
But nowhere, my background, I was a medtech microbiologist way before even going to medical school, right? I wanted to become a patent attorney. So I was very scientific. So this idea that way beyond quarks, way beyond atoms, way beyond electrons, there is a nothingness that's everything, which is consciousness, right? That's really the pillar of consciousness preceding, coming before phenotypic expression. So the traditional medical model, it works with substitutive medicine. Oh, your chemistry is off. Oh, well, we took a sample of your piss, and can I say piss instead of urine? Make it more exciting.
I curse all the time.
and your dopamine is low, your serotonin is high.
Yep.
This. Okay, great. And then they put you on all these supplements. And then, well, why don't you come back in 6 weeks and we do that? But that's substitutive. That's exactly what the substitutive medicine is, the medicine that we refer to as traditional medicine, right?
I call it green allopathy, just using supplements instead of drugs.
Right. But to be able to get to the root cause of the problem, and instead of taking the power away from the patient, reminding them that they have the power and fine-tuning, why is it that they're blocking that from themselves?
That's a key.
That's the essence.
Yeah.
And sometimes that might be a supplement. I prescribe supplement very judiciously, just like I have a prescriptive right and I prescribe antibiotics or every single medicine that you can think of. If it needs be, I do it. We never really throw away the baby with bathwater. But the idea is, will you take the time to understand the being beyond the disease, the being, the soul? Why is it that their sub-DNA is deactivated, right? And is there a conversation that could be had with that person that they get it? So that instead of giving them this substitutive medicine for depression or for anxiety, and you got to put them on GABA. Yeah, I heard it all. I've been in this, I've heard it all. I don't think there is a seminar that I haven't gone to, right?
Yeah.
At the beginning of my relationship with my wife, every weekend I was going to a conference, right? It's like this supplement to read, that supplement to read. And then, and I got to a place that I realized, gosh, what is beyond the optic nerve? Like what happens? And I realized that the way that we perceive things, it will either fight or flight, right? Parasympathetic or sympathetic. Parasympathetic, rest, ruminate, relax, right? The picture of Buddha, big earlobe, big belly, really chill, good digestive system. Sympathetic, thin, right? Anemic, fight or flight, the pupils are dilated. You're breathing in as much as you can. You think the wolves are coming, so you want to get as much information out there as you can, right? So if it puts you in these two places, and these are the two modalities that we can come from, oh my God, are there conversations that you could encourage and facilitate within patients that could shift them, that could really activate whatever it is for their highest good? No one, hardly any, and I didn't have any training. I mean, I don't know if in naturopathic schools you had that, but even within osteopathic medical schools, I went over 500 hours of manipulative medicine, and but no one really talked about, but wait, if they have a particular repetitive pattern or behavior, that would create an activation of nervous system that creates the level of contraction that would pull their particular thoracic vertebrae out, that it would be flexed or extended or rotated and so forth. So even that by itself, both chiropractic care or osteopathic care, any physical modality, right? Even that could be substitutive, right? And you see all these people that they go in and they get adjusted every week. And I'm like, but wait, what's the pattern? What is the particular pattern? How is it that what is it that you're stuck in, right? Now, I do quite a bit of osteopathic manipulative medicine, and I have utmost respect for manipulative medicine. I'm not throwing the baby with bathwater. What I'm bringing forward is a different conversation for all of us to have, which is, where is intellect in this equation, right? How can we connect the dot so that we could have a three-dimensional structure and to give a new meaning to what really healing is, rather than substitutive treatment, whether it's pill, right? Oh, here it is. Here's the purple pill, right? You have acid reflux. You have and for the rest of your life, here's what you're going to do. You're going to pay $6 to $7 every day to take your purple pill so that you don't have gastroesophageal reflux disease. You don't have acid reflux. Yeah, that's really easy. We can do that in 12 minutes, right? Including writing the prescription. But to be able to touch, move, and inspire them, to have a communication with them, not to overeat, and to find out what is the root cause of them overeating, and to get them to lose 35 pounds so you don't have that 35-pound heavy pressure, right? The things that you know. That, for me, that's really the conversation. That's the true healing, which takes us back to what it means to activate the old soul in every single person. And even babies have an old soul, as old as life in them.
Oh, that's beautiful. How poetic. I love that. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I resonate in every single way because I have this friend, she does IVs, right? She goes and does IVs, but the IVs are her Trojan horse. Because when you're getting IV, you're there for an hour minimum, 45 minutes minimum. She sits with them and she talks, and then she looks at these repetitive thought patterns that these people are having in order to break. What is the true healing? You might not even have a magnesium deficiency. You may not have a B12 deficiency, but you feel good from these. But really, it's the mind-body part of it that we've lost that art as practitioners. In fact, even through naturopathic school, we didn't have, I still believe we didn't have enough mind-body in order to really feel people, right? How they present and what they need. And I know in conventional schools, it's not truly looked at under the microscope how we can be good at it. But it's something you practice with every patient then?
Oh yeah, but it took years. I mean, I started training with. I had the pleasure of here in the largest psychoanalytical school in Los Angeles. It's PCC, and the former dean is John Tabakin, Dr. John Tabakin. Yeah, I've been working with John for over, 12, 13 years. Every week, once or twice a week, running cases by him, what I'm thinking, right? It's really going to a psychoanalytical school and more without going to a formal training, right? I work with Morton Herskowitz, wrote a book called Emotional Armoring. Herskowitz was a DO, an osteopath, a doctorate of osteopathic medicine, and he was also a psychiatrist, and he was the last psychiatrist that was trained by Wilhelm Reich. And, Habib Davanlu, who was back in Iran, he was a surgeon. 60s, went to Harvard and finished psychiatry, moved to Montreal, and he started the whole intense short-term psychotherapeutic, psychodynamic therapy. And the people that he trained were people like John Sarno, that wrote The Healing Back Pain, Alan Abbas, right, who's now one of my mentors, right? And Alan Abbas was a family practitioner and used to run the ER. And he took a course with Habib Sadeghi. It changed his life. He went back, he did a second residency in psychiatry, and he's trained with Habib. And this is now all he does, which is looking at the relationship between mind and body. And once I completed that training, I realized that there is a third player in this equation, which is the soul. So I got a degree. I spent 3 years of my life. I got a master's in spiritual psychology. The third year was more like a fellowship in consciousness, health, and healing. And so that's the realm that I work with, which is mind, body, and the soul. And I truly believe that the mind and the body are in front of the curtain. But unless you really support and connect with the soul, there isn't any long-lasting effect, change, phenotypic expression. Because in reality, for me, the true genotypic expression, it occurs in the spiritual realm. You know, and it's the way that you sit with a person. I remember from the beginning, I was one of the very first ones that was trained in, the usage of nutraceuticals and intravenously and so forth. And I trained with Alan Gabby and Jonathan Wright. And when they were being, raided by FBI, and all their computers and everything was being taken. I was one of the very first ones that was a member of orthomolecular medicine. Usage of high dosage of nutraceuticals to treat psychiatric illnesses. Something that an organization that was started by Linus Pauling and David Hawkins, right? With the emphasis of, listen, by just putting people on antipsychotic and antidepressant, you're just masking.
Yeah.
Let's find out. And although to some extent it is substitutive, but it creates less harm. And once I started, training this way, yes, every person that comes, they get an IV, but is there a way that you could direct which organ would get more blood flow? Yes, there is. That's the whole field of integrative traditional acupuncture. That's the whole field of auricular medicine, right? It's so interesting when you tell people the story of the auricular acupuncture, and you tell them that there was Noget. He was a French physician, and he was also an avid art collector. And one time this patient came in, and they were really sitting on this table in his office, and they were bent over complaining of back pain, and behind the patient was 3 paintings. One painting was this patient coming in with hunch over in pain. The middle painting was a doctor sticking something sharp in the person's ear. And the third painting was the patient happy like this. So Noget is evaluating this real patient. He says, could this be, is there something to this? And got a needle and started just poking around in the patient's ear. And got to a point and says, wow, what did you just do? The pain is gone. Noget spent 30 years of his life mapped out the entire ear. Each point, where does it belong to, what organ, and so forth. He published his finding as Noget auricular acupuncture. And then the Chinese said, yeah, we knew this for 5,000 years.
It's true.
Right?
The ancient wisdom has been there for so long.
Listen, this old soul has been around for a very long time. A person comes in, they want to get an IV, but, well, what is their issue? Do they have memory issue? Are they suffering? Do you want to increase fertility? Is it digestive issues? Could you get someone to work with their feet and do specific areas that we knew this over 5,000 years in Egypt. And activating those points, you can increase the blood flow to different organs. So more of the IV, intravenous nutritional support that you're giving could go to those organs. Could you include emunctories, various different, homeopathic injectables that you could handle any congestion that they may have? I mean, all of a sudden, once you bring intellect into this, sky's the limit.
Yeah.
And then you'll start seeing things that, that the book, Spontaneous Healing, I mean, you read that, the Spontaneous Healing, it talks about going to see Andrew Weil had a pain in his neck and had seen everybody and couldn't get rid of it. And someone says, why don't you go see this osteopath? Robert Fulford. And he goes and waits for an hour and a half. He's really upset. He sees Fulford, he retired 2 or 3 times. People kept bringing him out of retirement because he was so amazing.
Yeah.
So here he is. He had moved down from Midwest. He's in Arizona, and Andrew Weil comes in with a neck pain. He's pissed. He's waited an hour and a half. Fulford comes in, says, "Oh, where's the pain?" And puts the Fulford percussion hammer right over the area, and he says, "You're done." He says, "What? I waited an hour and a half, and it was like 12 minutes." He says, "Yeah, you're done." He gets pissed. He comes out, pays the money, gets in the car, and he says, "Oh gosh, I can't believe I did this." And he's driving and he's going to make a right turn. He turns, and all of a sudden he realizes he has absolutely no pain. The pain is gone, right?
Yeah.
The traditional medical model would put you on muscle relaxant, right? Put you on Flexerol 5 milligrams or cyclobenzaprine 5 milligrams, put you on Soma, put you on all these medications that they're congested. Everything that you eat, everything that goes inside, it gets dumped into the recycler, which is the liver. And we're being bombarded with so much as it is already. So if you overtaxed your liver, sooner or later, you're going to start having issues.
Yeah.
Right?
100%. And it's true when you look at that model. You know what I notice is how powerful naturopathic or integrative or functional, whatever, just an introduction of something that is more gentle can go a very, very long way. I mean, if you think of auricular acupuncture, it's fairly gentle, you don't even feel it, but how powerful and profound it can be. And then the most beautiful part, it's long term. It can cause a massive shift long term to where the tissue is already in the state of healing now.
Yes.
You were just talking about the congested of homeopathics, and
Yes.
it's incredible. And I myself, when I was in school, I was like, homeopathics? I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
What is this witch magic,
Oh my God.
And
Wow.
and I was looking for studies. I found very few, some on arnica and surgery, one on Ruta and breast cancer. But then I was in the clinic and I was with the attending, and I was in pediatrics, and she gave the child a homeopathic, right? Before that homeopathic, the kid was running around, kicking the toys in the room because we had a little pediatric room. I mean, I was like, me simultaneously in that moment, I said, I'm not going to do pediatrics because this was too much.
Right.
I don't understand how right when the kid took the dose, it was like someone put him on a benzodiazepine or something.
Yes.
The kid
Yes.
just went,
Yes.
and he sat still.
Yes.
Quiet. It went from super sympathetic to parasympathetic in the snap of a finger. In
Yes.
that moment, I said, there's something to this medicine.
Absolutely.
Isn't that crazy?
Absolutely. Yes. It's crazy and it's powerful. Luc Montagnier, Nobel Prize in medicine. He was the co-founder that discovered HIV. And some people, including me, believes that he was the founder, the discoverer of HIV, not the co-founder. Okay. And he was awarded the d'honneur légionnaire, the highest medal of honor in France. In 2007, late 2007, sent a publication to Nature, which is the most scientific journal on the planet, conservative. And they said, wow, this is revolutionary, what you're saying. And if what you're saying is true, we're going to publish it. But before we publish it, you need to present your research to 60 live Nobel laureates. And he did. June
Wow.
2008, he did. They were all blown away. And they're like, you're either a liar or if what you're saying is accurate, we have to rewrite physics and chemistry the way we know it. And they never published his publication. He lost his grant, and he ended up teaching a junior college out in China. What did he do that was so revolutionary? He proved that concept of homeopathy is true.
Wow.
So it's absolutely true. And the concept is that, listen, you can give me the smallest of whatever, saffron. I put it in the water, okay? I cover it, I percuss it, I empty it out, and then I fill it up again, percuss it, and empty it out, right? And I'll do this 1,000,000 times. On the 1,000,000th time, I still will find enough of what is referred to as morphogenic resonance or fingerprint of saffron on that water. That's what Christ did. We call it baptism. When you really think about it, I mean, how come baptism is not done in dirt? How come baptism is not done in air? This concept, my background, I almost got a master's in electrochemistry, almost, because I finished my didactics, but I never presented my thesis. I ended up in medical school. I said, okay, first summer after medical school, I do it. But I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going to go back to school.
Crazy.
So I'm going to travel. Second year, summer, I said, I got to study for boards. And then after a while, I was like, I left it. But studying electrochemistry and this concept, it makes complete sense. It makes complete sense that when you look at the structure of water, right? We refer to it as, salvation. This idea of salvation and salvation, right? Mm-hmm. The psychospiritual component, it's similar. Nothing gets dissolved unless it's in a solvent. It could be water or it could be any other liquid, right? Depending on the quantity that you're working with. But the idea is very scientific. The idea is less is more, which is completely in a crash course with traditional medical model, which is, oh, so you took one. Oh, you're not better? Take two. Mm-hmm. Oh, you took 2 aspirin, not better? Take 4. They push it all the way up to the highest dosage, and then when that doesn't work, it's like, well, gosh, take that and then take a Tylenol, right? Mm-hmm. It's substitutive. It's pushing. It's sort of like if I'm speaking and you're not hearing me, instead of shouting at you, I should actually speak and whisper. Because by whispering, your quality of listening gets evoked. That's what, when you look at that, right? It's like, this is the concept. This is the concept that we refer to as, whatever you want to call it, integrative medicine, osteopathic medicine, naturopathic medicine, green medicine, functional medicine, IntelliKey medicine. It's basically a medicine with intelligence when you think about it. It's medicine that creates this spaciousness that, let's start from stillness. Mm-hmm. Tell me, how did this start? What were you doing when this started? What were you doing a day before? What are some of the recurrent thoughts, feelings, emotions that you were having before your symptoms started? No one asks that. Well, you got a symptom? Let's get rid of that symptom. And we got a lot of shotgun to kill the flies of your symptom. So God forbid, you could actually sit with the discomfort and the suffering that could create a reflective way of being. And the disease is supposed to create a greater ease for you, a greater spaciousness inside. But that's not how it is. Now, it's just a matter of how quickly can I get my prescription pad, and how quickly I can recommend something to stop the symptom. Instead of shifting and changing the terrain, And you said it eloquently that it's sometimes it's almost invisible. And usually when I talk about that, it's funny because the only issue of Playboy that I have, it's 1972, volume 2, I think, February, right? And I bought it for the article. You know, that's the joke, that you get Playboy for the
For the
article.
articles.
But it's true. Buckminster Fuller, the great visionary, was interviewed. And that was the first time that someone created the distinction of trim tabbing. If you sail, and if you ever seen how a ship moves, the rudder is not in front of the ship. It's all the way at the back. And right on the rudder, you have these finger-looking projections that as they move, they create a shift and change in the pressure. So it makes it easier for the rudder to move. So you shift and change the direction of this oil tanker all the way from the back. And it's the trim tab that is so, it's finger looking and it's so easily moved. Those are the homeopathic medicines that you saw. That a kid that has so much tension, if you can create a deeper harmony, all of a sudden, there's no tension, there's no movement. And when, you know, I was this couple with significant zone of influence and affluence, they brought their daughter, and let's call the daughter Elise. And and they wanted to put him on medication. And I said, well, let's just find out. The kid, unbelievable. She had so much tension in her face. She had her frenulum, right, the piece of tissue, as you know, connecting the lip, right, to the gum line. But you have two, one up, and then you have lingua. And you ask the mother, well, she didn't latch on to you, did she? Oh, difficulty. Oh my God, she doesn't eat, da-da-da-da. She has so much tension here that no one picked it up. And by releasing these pieces of tissue that can be done outpatient basis, like quickly, it changes the entire trajectory of where she ends up. Just like an old tanker, you shift 1 degree of the rudder, right, which starts with the trim tabbing, right? You change the direction of what continent this oil tanker will land in.
Unbelievable.
That is a medicine that really taps into the old soul that we all have. It's the collective, right? It's the collective consciousness. This is what Jung was talking about. Except we don't have, the reason I didn't want to specialize and become a neuro-ophthalmologist and became a family doctor was because I wanted to be jack of all trade and master of none. To really be able to sit with someone like your friend. They're getting an IV, but communicating and holding space and suggesting and shifting, and trim tabbing. So by the time that they leave, it's a completely different consciousness within the physiology. And I know that you've experienced this, and I know that consciousness can shift and change our physiology. This is, how else could, a father finds their daughter or son, they're having some issues, a car runs them over. Man, the dad, a puny little guy, can lift off the car, right? You generate so much glucose, which is 2,000 times more powerful, and that's what adrenaline, epinephrine, norepinephrine does. You get the same molecule, but the energy that you pull out of it, it's a lot more efficacious, right? How? Consciousness, our physiology. That's behind the optic nerve, and that's no one taps into it.
No one.
And that's the shortcoming of substitutive medicine.
Wow. Man, I almost lost my words right there. I absolutely agree. I mean, I was hyper present with that because I felt that as so much truth.
Yeah.
I've sat with patients, and at the end of the day, I was like, this person doesn't need another lab. This person certainly doesn't need another supplement. They just needed someone to sit down and talk to. And for them, for the person talking to them to show them a mirror of what is reflecting back to them as far as when, like you said, when did this start? Where were you? And now they're seeing like, oh no, I was in a really bad place and this was the traumatic inciting event.
Yeah.
I haven't been the same since. I think a really good practitioner can feel the room change when that happens. Because I've sat there and I'm like, something's happening in my head as I'm very professional. I'm like, something is happening here, you know? And they come out and the air, even the air is different. And to me, that's, like you said, we're all consciousness. So you feel the healing happen in another, which is one of the most beautiful things ever. Because you're like, shoot, I didn't even have to really be a doctor. I just needed to be holding space, you know?
That's mastery.
That's mastery.
That's mastery.
Yeah.
To go and see an acupuncturist that uses 50 needle, I know a lot of acupuncturists that they can use 50 needle and move the dial. You sit with a master that uses 1 needle and they get that results, that's mastery.
That's mastery. Yeah.
That's mastery. You know, it's like when you look at that, right? When you look at that, that's really a lot of the, you know, a lot of people have said the same thing. It's, there are people that they can do a lot more with less medicine, less force, whether it's homeopathy, whether it's herbal medicine, whatever you do, if you shift and change the terrain, if you shift and change the air, right? When I came in, I connected with Isaac, right? Isaac, right? Yeah, I connect. Why? The way he's here, it's going to shift and change what we capture. I gave him a love button. I connected with him because the observer becomes observed. If I'm a doctor and I have a white coat with all these acronyms and a patient comes in, man, I better clean up and not pop out statistics to another being. The least I can do is to shut the fuck up and not to insert them with statistics that you got stage 3, you got stage 4, this is what's going to happen to you, you got 2 weeks left. That's fucking malpractice. And I'm using vulgarity intentionally because that should be malpractice. Not for a human being that says, you know, I am aware of the statistics, but I have a feeling, let's focus on why are you here? Why are you alive? Why did you come here? Can you really see that this is a university for you to cultivate your consciousness? And a higher level graduate course is called Parkinson's disease, ALS, MS, you know, whatever the diagnosis is, you fill in the blank. All of a sudden you engage this being and they start becoming reflective and they get so much more. And they might end up transitioning and transitioning, dying, but my God, they go whole. Then a human being that gets torn apart, they never really work out their fears, their anxieties, right? And even when they transition, they still stick around. They're lost souls and they're missing out. And this concept, I don't want to get too ethereal, but this concept, I mean, most of the time, people come in and they have with all these abnormalities, and then you realize that there are entities in them. And, you know, and to be able to communicate that you know, there are 2 stories, and the second stories you've rented. Except you don't know that someone is living upstairs, and all these sounds and the leakage is because they don't really pay attention. This concept of psychospiritual hygiene and supporting them, and so that they can really clean house. Because most people, when you tell them entity, it's like, oh, wow, you just said exorcist, and you're wacko, and you're woohoo, and you're not scientific. But when you sit down and you talk to them, scientifically explain this concept, and they get it, and you tell them what to do, and they get results, it's like, wow, I don't understand it, but it works.
Just like me in homeopathy.
And you've taken your time and you have the intelligence to create the parking space so that you may not understand it, but you park it there. You have respect for it. You don't attack it. Within the traditional medical model, when we don't understand something, we attack it.
Fast.
Completely.
Yeah.
And we got to get rid of it, right? Because it's a threat.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's the conversation. The conversation is to really, sage has been used for hundreds, if not thousands of years. In Persian traditional medicine that was started by Avicenna, right? He wrote the textbook on medicine, right?
Yeah, he was in the history of medicine.
Right.
We learned about him.
It's like, and we have our own different herbs that we use. But what does sage do? And when you tell people that sage has one of the highest concentration of steroids, that even within the traditional medical model, when you don't know what to do and you want to do something, you put people on steroids. Why? Because steroids shift and change the morphogenic resonance and shifts things, creates clearing, and you change the phenotypic expression, the disease. But if you overuse it, it has side effects, right? That we can see. But, there are things that was done that creates clearing, and really allowing people to be open to spirituality and having a psychospiritual hygiene and paying attention to the things that cannot be seen, right? There are things that exist that we cannot capture, we cannot stain. I was a medtech microbiologist. I only believed what I could stain. If there's a bacteria, you stain it. Is it gram-positive? Is it gram-negative, right? And then based on that, classify it, and you can find genus and species. But there are things. When you look at mycoplasma, it doesn't have a cell wall. It exists, right? It looks like a fried egg. So this concept that there are entities, there are souls, that they're lost, and they're in this realm, and they can attach to us, and they attach to everybody. So you need to have certain routine to be able to clear it, so that you are left being emancipated and being the master of your own consciousness.
I don't doubt that one bit. I've seen it myself all through childhood, even in adulthood. So I knew I wasn't crazy.
Because you come from a culture that has familiarity and the language that allows that understanding.
Right. And not closed off and open. And where would we learn ways to protect ourselves? Do you talk about that anywhere or,
Yeah, the whole essence of the second book, The Clarity Cleanse, the diet, the way that it was done. It was, I had to go through so much to just get that out because, they wouldn't even allow my own medical records to be published because the medical record said, you got 70% chance of metastasis. You should have been dead. You cannot be alive. And I'm like, no, I'm alive. And this is what I've done. And here are the medical records from City of Hope, the Mecca of oncology. So the Clarity Cleanse is set. The first part, it's certain psychospiritual work that they can do. It's as simple as a way of journaling, that it allows a deeper clearing, usage of fire. There's compassionate self-forgiveness and many other reframing and many other psychospiritual tasks that really helps on clearing the second floor so that we don't have the leakage. We don't have all these cravings. We don't have these symptoms. And we don't even know why. And a lot of these, they gets passed down. This whole concept of transgenerational trauma.
I did a whole show on it.
Right?
Yeah.
It's so amazing. Did you have Bert here? Bert
no,
Hellinger?
I just did it myself.
Oh, you
but
did?
Yeah.
Yeah, Bert Hellinger, right? Bert Hellinger was sent at the time, the only place on the planet that understood this was the Zulu nation in Africa. That they understood that the father, the sin of the fathers, the way that things get passed on from one generation to the next generation, which has a lot to do with activation or deactivation of sub-DNA reactors in there. And once he was there, he understood it. And he understood, oh my God. And then he came back, and this is the family constellation, that it brought that level of understanding, right? So part of really, the form of medicine that I practice, I refer to it as entelechy medicine. And entelechy is the movement of acorn becoming oak tree, right? And a baby is really an acorn. And then how can you support the baby in becoming an oak tree? right? How could you facilitate that? Part of it, it's predetermined. Part of it is choice.
Yeah.
And part of ushering and creating that, that's the culture, the society, the parent, the medical community, all of that goes into this for all of us to be able to have a different future. Instead of just putting people on medications of ADD, ADHD, and no one paying attention, and everyone wants to have certain particular expression and phenotypic expression. So everyone get braces to look certain way with complete disregard of their cranial rhythm impulse. And when you tell people that, there's actually movement, through the ventricles in the brain, the choroid plexus is what produces the cerebrospinal fluid that your brain is floating in, right? That if you sit and meditate and if you touch the tip of your tongue to the roof of the mouth, the movement that you see, it's from that cranial rhythm impulse. And there are people that they practice medical qigong that you put a piece of paper on their hands and they can put it on fire because they're tapping into that and they're moving that to be able to do that. No one teaches us that.
No.
That's this.
That's
God forbid.
Yeah.
You have pain and you could tap into that. Wow.
To heal ourselves.
That's a lot of Tylenol, Motrin, over-the-counter medication, right? Didn't they promise us that Celebrex, all these medications, it was safe. And then we found out, wait, stop. Stop. They have side effects.
Yeah.
You can't just give it out. You'll get a heart attack.
Yeah. Yeah. I love everything about this interview because you're really reiterating the whole point of the show. And the amount of times you pointed to heal thyself is so powerful because that you understand what I'm trying to put out here is that is the conscious innate intelligence, honing into that, tapping into that, and letting that be the healer.
Yes.
Not you, not me. We, like we said in the very beginning, to tie it back, it's you. It's you. You better than anyone does.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. So we need to have you back on this show.
It's my privilege. I have so much respect for what you're doing.
Thank you, Doc. That means a lot coming from you. I appreciate that. I read the book, The Clarity Cleanse. I even have it in Spanish. You gave it to me in Spanish, too.
That's right.
So the Spanish version.
It's translated.
Is there anything else that people can look out for from you?
Yeah, I'm irrelevant, really. I'm completely irrelevant. The idea is not for anyone to don't look for me. Look for the me that's already in you. You have all the resources. But, this is a ministry for me. It's more than medicine. And they can find me on Instagram at Dr. Habib Sadeghi, at beingclarity.com, and we're also on Patreon. There are quite a few videos and lectures and various different things that we put there. And the idea of putting it on Patreon is to have a community, to have a private community. Because when you go on Instagram or this or that, and someone comes in and they're not as sophisticated, and they look at something on a surface, right? It's sort of like looking at an amazing tree, and you're like, that's it, without understanding the root system that's holding it up, right? But once you're in a private community, then it makes it a little bit easier to be able to go deeper and to share, and the sharings built on each other. Because a lot of these stuff, they're not readily available. This is the main reason that my wife and I would publish a magazine. We call it Magazine, once a year. And we publish quite a bit of these concepts and these things that they just come through. We capture it, linguistically, we give it shape, and we share with our community. Really, the message is to really stop and be still and know that each of us, we are God, that we have that goodness, we have that essence in us, that we are a piece of a larger puzzle that we call God, but we are a piece of the puzzle, and we are an important piece of the puzzle, which is really the Sanskrit salutation of Namaste. I praise, I salute, I appreciate, bow to the God in you.
Namaste, my brother. I appreciate you. We can end it right there. I can't think of a better way to do it. I appreciate you.
Thank you for opportunity.